Alright guys, welcome to the Nocturnal Gaming Podcast Part 2. Four of us are here, Tyler, Colt, Kenny, and then we got a new guest, Owyn. You're only here once, I hope you know that.
One and done.
One and done.
One and done.
This is the trial, bro.
This is the only game I care about.
Oh, bro, you screw this up, you're being dropped.
I'll leave NG.
Nah, you're good. So we got Owyn here today. He may or may not be in future podcasts. Just trying this out. But we are going to talk about Destiny 2. That's been probably the biggest thing gaming wise that's come out in the last 2 weeks since we last did one. As far as the game initial thoughts, who's played Destiny 1? Everybody but Kenny and I?
I played it, but I didn't play for very long.
If you want to see who played it the most and grinded it the most, I would be the one who's played Destiny the most out of all of us.
Okay. From Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, I've heard just from people saying that the campaign in Destiny 2 was a lot better than Destiny 1.
Yeah.
Is it true?
The Destiny 1 campaign was kind of non-existent. It was kind of just missions over and over again until you were done.
If you want to compare the campaigns together, I feel like they're really not comparable because, like Colt said, that the campaign in Destiny 1 was never really a campaign. It was, you have to do a select few missions where there is story set off to the side of it, but you really just have to focus in mainly if you want to hear anything about the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to fight Oryx, and you had to fight Crota, and then you had to fight a bunch of other things, which were the main bosses of the original Destiny, which we fought Gaul. He was the first boss, but obviously we're going to have a lot more.
Right. And so, I guess since this one has like a more in-depth story, did you guys enjoy it? Like, what were your thoughts? Personally for me, like, I didn't play the first one, so I didn't know. But it was like kind of an okay story, but everybody says like this one had a story in comparison to the first one, and from what I know, Destiny is more grind based for like gear and stuff. But like, I still thought the storyline was pretty good. But I just like your thoughts. Let's go with Kenny. Kenny, did you like the story?
Yeah, I like the story a lot. I like the fact that there were a bunch of cutscenes and stuff now, whereas I believe in the first one there really weren't that many cinematic cutscenes, if any. I did like that there was like an actual plot rather than just a set of missions, because really kind of the late game after you finish the campaign, that's kind of going back to old Destiny in a way, because now you're just kind of doing these different missions. In my opinion, a game like that is said to have a story needs to have cinematics, and I really enjoy cinematics. And I know you guys, at least a few of you, don't care for campaigns as much as I might in first-person shooters, but to me, having an actual campaign really helped this game, and I think that feature will also help Star Wars Battlefront 2 when it comes out too, because that missed an actual campaign in the first game too. So I think a game like that deserves to have a real campaign, and this one had it. So Destiny 2 has definitely been better for me than the first one, for sure.
I feel you. Tyler, you played through, you finally beat it. Just kidding. What were your thoughts? Like, did you like it? Was it kind of boring? Like, how'd you feel about it?
I liked it a lot better, I think, than the first one. I just felt like, I mean, I didn't play the first one all the way through. I didn't quite finish it. But what I did play is like, I felt like this one had more of like a set story rather than just kind of just missions that made up, like, help fill a plot. It was more of an actual storyline.
Right.
But the only thing that I didn't like really is that like the boss fights were like pretty easy. Like, it wasn't much of a challenge, I felt like, personally, but the story itself was good though, and I mean, I'm still grinding it a ton, so
yeah,
the game definitely keeps you going.
As you guys did the campaign, did you guys do a lot of side missions along the way, or did you?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
how did you guys go about side missions?
For me, I mean, Colt and I basically did the story the same time, and then Owen came back because he had already beat it. He kind of came back and helped us grind it a little bit.
So
But I feel like the first couple nights we were kind of like in between side missions and story mode. But then after that, Colt was like, "Yo, I'm trying to finish this." So
yeah,
we finished it.
I feel like that game would the campaign the bosses would be a little more of a challenge
Right?
if you had only played the campaign missions and not stopped along the way and done side missions, because those can really help you get you some decent loot and
Right.
that kind of
That's-
stuff.
That's
I feel
kinda
like
what-
that's what they make it for, is to be a challenge for, is if you just play the campaign. But yeah, I agree that campaign was pretty easy towards the end, because I did a lot of side missions. So
That's what I did. Is I went and I did everything solo. I didn't work with anybody on the campaign because obviously nobody in NG was caught up to where I was. So I had to push through it all solo, and even solo, it was just incredibly easy. I was really let down with how easy it was just to kill a boss, and it was just really upsetting to see. But it's overall, I really liked the story.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it, they weren't really trying to make a campaign like Halo, where at the end you play it 5 times to finally try and beat it. I think they were more or less just trying to give us a storyline, because at the end of the day, Destiny's not really about the story. It's about starting to grind for raids. That's what the game is. People wouldn't buy it if there wasn't raids and end game goals. So I think it was just kind of, people wanted more of a storyline, so they gave it to them. It wasn't really about making it this like accomplishment to finally beat the campaign. It was just to kind of give it direction this time around.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it for a Destiny campaign. If I was going to start comparing it to any other campaigns, it was really lackluster. But for just giving a game direction that didn't have it the previous like game, it was good. I mean, it was needed. But it by far was not like the best campaign I've ever played.
Right.
no,
No.
I agree.
All right. So what is? There's 3 classes. We'll just talk about class. We're going right in those. The Warlock class, the Hunter class, and the Titan class. Who didn't play Hunter? Because I know 2 of us did. You didn't play
I-
Hunter. You didn't play Hunter.
Yes.
All right. Well then, I'm gonna start with the Hunter class. Did you guys both play Warlock?
No, I played
played-
Titan.
And you played Warlock? Awesome. Cool. So we'll actually get a take on that.
Variety.
I'm gonna start with the Hunter class just because there's 3 of us, and then we'll just rotate. We'll go from the Hunter class, Warlock class to Titan class. I didn't really know what to expect as far as the Hunter class. I never played Destiny the first one. I thought it was really cool. There are 3 subclasses. Was there 3 subclasses in the other stuff? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't remember the names of them. Owen, do you know like the
Guns,
The
Gunslinger,
sub-
Voidwalker, and
Gunslinger, Voidwalker, and Hammer of
Knight something, right? The bow and arrow one,
That's the Night Stalker.
Night Stalker, and then okay.
Well, it depends if you're talking about like the original.
Well, I just know that they added the one with the Night.
They added one to each new person.
Yeah.
Like
Which
the
one was
Titan-
you guys' favorite to use? Just any particular
as the
reason?
Titan, the Golden Gun, the Gunslinger.
You-
So amazing.
as the Hunter. Yeah.
Hunter. Yeah.
I thought, are we talking about the hunters right now?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
said Titan, that
Titan,
accident.
right? Don't worry about it, dude. You're new. It's okay.
Yeah, I think Gunslinger is definitely like, it's the best. It
It's the
always has
easiest one to
been.
use for sure.
Yeah.
I actually liked the what is it, Night Stalker? Is that what you guys were saying? The bow and arrow one.
Mhm.
I like that. And to me, that one's it's the most fun to use. It kind of sucked, to be honest. If you miss every shot like I do, but the gear was really cool. Nothing, I don't know if there was really much differences from the first game other than like the added subclass.
It's the
Yes.
same game. So you're shooting the
It's
same.
same.
That was a big
yeah.
complaint I had, honestly, is I was kind of upset with the fact that you're shooting the same stuff. Like it's a brand new game that they advertised, but you go through the whole game shooting the same bad guys. Like it was kind of.
I made a list where I talked about this, and it's the thing I have on the list. I call that new type of enemy/race possibly coming. You have right now. You have the Hive, Fallen, Vex, and the Cabal. I just finally like Colt said, I was disappointed to see that we had no new type of enemy off the base game. But I'm pretty sure we're gonna have something coming at once you beat the campaign end of things, and the traveler sends out that big pulse of whatever that is, and you see like those giant triangle things floating in the sky. I feel like
Oh,
that's
yeah.
gonna be our new.
Yeah.
That's gonna be our new.
I really hope so.
I'm
Like-
really hoping to. I think they're gonna be the darkness.
Because as much as I like shooting Fallen and everything, like, to have a completely new game and all the same bad guys was kind of a bummer.
They added one new type of ad, and that was the fanatic.
Yeah.
Right.
And those are just. That's not even a new type of enemy. It's just basically, if you look at it, it's the goblins. If you shoot their heads off,
Mm-hmm.
if you shoot the head off a goblin, it turns into a fanatic.
Right. Yeah, no, from what I've heard from other people, is definitely like kind of lackluster in the fact that it's a very like copy and paste other than the new layouts and stuff. But I guess just before we go into some of the stuff we didn't really like Tyler, you did the Warlock. Your opinions? Do you have anything really much to say about it as far as the class goes?
I liked the Warlock class a lot. Everything except for like the movement, like the jump boosts and stuff. I mean, I think in total there was like 3 different levels of it. And once you got to the 3rd one, once you single jumped, you'd kind of flow up, and then once you hit like your jump again, it would like teleport you up. So I know specifically one mission when I believe it was me, Jake, and Colt. We were out playing it. You have to jump up to multiple platforms. So you have to, I could not fucking jump.
I
Yeah.
know what part you're talking about.
Because like every time my guy would teleport, it would like the cooldown would be like it was so off. So I had to tune it down, and I just still don't like it. As far as the 3 subclasses go, the Dawn Blade, which is the one you start with, is like the fiery sword. I like that one. It's just like for that one, I wish like there was longer like a hover time, I guess, because I mean when you jump and you hover, it's kind of hard to aim if like you're just standing on the ground and hitting people. Whereas if you jump and you try to use it from in the air, it's a lot easier to use. Second one is the Void Walker, which is like you shoot like this big ball of energy, which the one's strong, but at the same time, like when you use it, I feel like it's kind of like I don't really know why you would use it, because with like the Dawnblade and the Stormcaller one, they last so much longer. With the Void Walker, you shoot one ball and that's the entire like ability, whereas like your Stormcaller and Dawnblade, they both last like quite a long time. So you can there's like a potential for a lot more kills and doing a lot more damage with those other 2. So I just feel like the Void Walker one is kind of useless.
Can I touch on that real quick?
No.
Okay, so the Void Walker.
Nicer.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
The Void Walker, whatever it's called, the one where you shoot the big ball, that's one of the new subclasses for the Warlock. And the thing I think that it's used for, I think that's more as meant for a PvP type of scenario when you're playing like Capture, or they don't
Like
even have
Crucible.
that. Like Crucible, yeah, PvP. And it's in those scenarios, Control, it's basically domination from Call of Duty. I feel like that's what that subclass is meant for. Because if you have a full fire team sitting on one site, or like on one flag, that is your snare, quote unquote, from League of Legends. That slows them down so your team can all just jump on them at once and stop them from getting that point. It slows them down. If they're like trying to look in a different direction, they look a lot slower. Their ADSing is a lot slower. It's their snare, basically.
But that ability is not a slow though.
It slows you down a lot.
Well, it's supposed to kill you, but I don't know. I just felt like with the Dawnblade, you could still just continuously like start throwing those swords onto a point in the same way, and you have a lot more shots, and
Right.
it puts out the same damage output. So I just felt personally like the Dawnblade would be the best one for that.
Right.
But it's just opinion, so.
Kenny, you did the
Yeah.
Titan class.
Yeah, I
You were
used the Titan class.
Solo dolo out here.
Yep. So the Titan class starts with a Sentinel, and then goes to Striker, and then finishes with the Sunbreaker. And the Sentinel is basically just a shield that you have, and you can bash people with it. Yeah, bash people with it, throw it, whatever. I didn't really care about that one. I believe when you throw your shield, you can only throw it once, so I didn't care for that. You can run around and bash people with it. But the Striker is better because I feel like you can hit more targets and do more damage with it.
Is the Striker the one where you can like slam down with your fists?
Yes, you can.
The Fist of Havoc.
Yeah, you can come up from in the air, slam down, or you can just run at people and, kick, punch, whatever, get in people's faces. But my favorite one was definitely the Sunbreaker, which is basically a giant hammer that you can. It's basically a ripoff of Thor's hammer, really, and you can throw it. You can throw it, or you can melee people with it. That one definitely did the most damage. There's a lot of splash damage, a lot of fire splash damage and stuff. I thought it was a pretty decent class. If I would have played the game again, I probably would have done Warlock, just because the final evolution or ability, subclass, whatever, of the Warlock I felt was the best to me, since I watched Justin play as the Warlock as we were playing it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But I don't know. I had fun with it. But the Sentinel, the first class is definitely not very good, and the second one is decent. And I feel like the third one's definitely the best out of Titan. But I really did not see many Titans play. I saw a lot of, what was it, the Hunter, right? That's what that one's called.
Yeah, I thought the Hunter, like, I had no idea what I was doing when it came
I feel
to
like
it.
all of us
It just
picked
looked
Hunter.
cool, so I clicked Hunter.
Right.
And then, of course, that ended up being the majority. And then as soon as I noticed people weren't Titan, I was like, oh, that's Kenny's class, because he's always got to be different.
Well, I wanted to pick something different
I'm
than
just
what
kidding.
everybody else was doing. And,
No, I mean, I'm glad that you did, because it adds to discussion.
yeah,
But,
and it kind of fits because it's kind of a close range class.
Right.
And
And
I didn't
shotgun.
use shotguns. I really didn't use shotguns much in that
Yeah,
game.
that's what he says. Don't let him lie to
But-
you guys.
But
He's
it
trolling.
was a close range
Yeah.
class, and it was pretty fun. But
All right. Well, the next thing I want to touch on, because I'm a huge fan, and because I'm a huge fan, I get to say what we touch on. But I'm a big PvP person. Crucible. What were you guys' thoughts? Do you like the Crucible? Is it fun? For me personally, it's like Like I know the game's not made for the Crucible, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But you can definitely, like, the balance side as far as like weapons for some people are definitely like, the better loot you have, the better your guns are going to be. And it's just kind of, it's hard when you know that you're beating someone face to face, but they still beat better, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I just wish there was a lot more balancing. As far as the modes go, they're fun to me. They added basically like a kill confirm mode. What is it, like Supremacy? Yeah, which wasn't in the first one from what I recall, or was it? I couldn't tell you guys. And then they have like a search and destroy mode, essentially, that you can revive your own people. Like I said, I think it's fun, but it's definitely not like a PvP that I look forward to. Does anybody else have like a opinion on it that they want to share?
I think it's
personally,
pretty
I
much.
didn't play it.
Kenny hasn't
Not
played
played
it,
it
so,
yet. Yeah.
so we're gonna mute your ass.
I think it's more of like for me, it's more of like a, I don't know, once you're done grinding, you can just play it with friends for a little bit. Like, it doesn't feel like it's definitely a big part of the game. And especially when, like, I believe it's called Iron Banner, when that comes out and you can grind Iron Banner, you can get really good gear from the Crucible. So it's definitely a huge part of the game as far as end game. And I think they need it in the end game, because once you're done with like the lackluster campaigns that Destiny has, you have the raids and you have Crucible. So they definitely need it in the game, but yeah, I've never really been a huge fan of it. I like the combat system for PvE, but with that same combat system in PvP, I feel like it just isn't for me. I just don't enjoy it. I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, but that's just it doesn't seem like a PvP game to me
Yeah.
when I play it.
I mean, it's definitely like another way to get loot. So I mean, I see why they do it, and it would almost be weird as if the game didn't have like a PvP, just
Oh,
being
yeah, you
Bungie and
can't have a big time first person shooter game like
Yeah.
that and not have PvP.
no, I know why it's there, and I don't want to bash it too much because the game is not meant to be like
PvP.
PvP, but
Here's a question.
yeah.
Out of the people who disliked it, which I don't think I would really care for it that much if I did play it, but how do you think you would go about making it better?
Going about making
wanted-
the Crucible better.
Yeah, PvP, where the mechanics or the modes or however you would
Well,
approach it.
First of all, from Destiny 1, by counting here 412, they had 16 total game modes in Destiny 1. They had everything from free for all to domination to game modes you wouldn't even ever think that they could make a game mode out of. And in this game, they have 3. They have Supremacy, they have Control, and the one where it's just like Team Deathmatch. And that's kind of just really like upsetting to me because they had a free for all game mode called Rumble, and that's mainly what I played. I never like to rely on my teammates in Destiny because you always just get matched with people who aren't serious about it. You're just playing it for fun.
In Destiny 1, were those all a part of the base game, or did a lot of the multiplayer?
Part of the base
Oh,
game.
okay.
There is a total of 16 game modes all came out with base game, and then the base game for Destiny 2, there's only 4. You have the because you know how when you go to Crucible, there's also the competitive section.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That game has a game that section only has one game mode, and it's like a search and destroy.
Yeah.
And it's just I enjoyed it, but I feel like that's a game mode you really have to play with the fire team. But,
Oh, I agree with you there. Like, it's that mode in particular. I mean, even in like games where that style of mode is played, is like the main competitive mode. Like, as far as Destiny goes, it's definitely harder to me to like try to solo. As far as like round per round game goes, whereas like Call of Duty or even Counter Strike, like I don't know. I just think you definitely need a fire team, and it just doesn't make it as fun if you don't have a fire team, especially for that mode.
you guys know with like the milestones how it's like there's every once in a while you get one that's like you have to play Crucible. It's like win glory by playing matches in the Crucible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like get wins in Crucible to unlock powerful gear, and I feel like having to go into Crucible to earn powerful gear is kind of more of a chore than enjoyable. Like, I don't want to go in to play Crucible to earn this, but if I want to get better, I have to.
Right.
I just feel like something in a game shouldn't feel like a chore in order to get better to do.
Right. I mean, I get what you're saying there, but I mean, they do definitely want to try to cater to every style of game because there's definitely people out there that love Crucible.
Right.
Think about this too. If there was somebody who did not have Xbox Live Gold and got one of those milestones to do, would they even be able to accomplish that?
Well,
I
can
don't
you even
think-
play the game if you don't
I
have
don't-
Xbox Live Gold?
I
Because
don't think so.
I don't believe so.
Now I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it, yeah. So that
because
kind of another
it's,
disadvantage to Destiny right there. That but
yeah, there's not a lot you can do if you don't have internet, which is kind of
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
unfortunate for people that want to play through.
But I mean, like,
Tyler, oh, go ahead.
if
there's
you think
plenty of. Go ahead.
Cut! Simmer down, everybody's so excited.
No, but if you
Owen.
think about it, if you don't have Xbox Live, you don't have Crucible, you don't have Strikes. Well, you have Strikes, but good luck completing them.
Right.
And especially with the weekly Nightfall, you can't do that solo because you only get 6 minutes to do that.
Right.
You only get 6 minutes to complete a strike, and doing that solo is impossible.
Tyler, so Crucible, you played it a
Crucible.
few times.
I've
Like
played
it,
the
not
Crucible
like it,
quite a
okay.
bit. I didn't like it at first because I felt like if you didn't have the multi-tool or the mini-tool, you were at a huge disadvantage. I mean, since then, I played it before, and I liked it, but I felt like there was, like Owen was saying, more game modes would be nice.
Yeah.
After I figured out that getting the mini and the multi-tool were just a mission. I grinded that mission, and now that I have them, I enjoy it a lot more because I feel like I can actually compete because I have the same OP gun that everybody else has. So once you have like decent guns, I mean, it's pretty good. And then I know based on your power level, you're not at more of an advantage. So if my power level multi-tool is 280 and somebody else's is 180,
They
like
do the same.
it does the same amount of damage in game. Um, you just kind of have different perks based on like what armors and stuff you have. So, but I mean,
Alright.
overall, I like it. I do wish there was more game modes though. Maybe some more maps.
Yeah, no,
They're,
I agree.
They're definitely gonna expand on Crucible.
They'd
Wow.
have to add to it, and I mean, there's definitely room for the game as a whole to add to. I mean, that's kind of what Destiny's known for. Um, I think one of the biggest features that I've loved so far, even though they're kind of repetitive, and I know they're gonna add. Speaking of add to, is strikes. I think they're so fun when you get, it's a lot. It's just nice to bond. It gives a good gaming experience. I do wish that they would, you know, add another person to the fire team. I feel like threes is I mean, it's not too hard, but it just there's so many times where it's like people want to team up with you, and you're like, yeah, sorry, I already have two others. As far as the strikes go, do you guys enjoy them? Do you not really like them?
I personally think for beyond, like once you finish the campaign, I think the strikes is the best part of Destiny.
Right.
I thought that it was a decent challenge at times, especially if there were plenty of times where since I had one partner, we had one more person, and that one other person decided to not play or whatever because he was a scrub or whatever, and that made it even more of a challenge. But even with three people doing their jobs, I think it was a decent challenge. I would die here and there, and you get decent loot, and they're decently lengthy missions. So I think that's definitely the best part of Destiny after you finish the campaign. Now, if I grinded and grinded and grinded, I would eventually get bored of it. It's not one of them things like, when we would play Call of Duty online where we could just play and play and play and play. For me personally, I couldn't grind strikes and keep having fun. It would get boring after a while, but it's definitely the best part of post-campaign Destiny, in my opinion.
Colt, do you have an opinion?
I mean, not really. I think the strikes are like the same thing as Destiny 1. Honestly, you fight the same exact things in all the strikes.
Yeah,
Like the strikes were really
it is very
not
repetitive.
well. They weren't. They're not new. It's the same strikes put in Destiny 2, in my opinion. Like there might be a couple. Like obviously the maps are different, but you do the same things and get to fight the same bosses. It's kind of, I don't know. It was really like the what are the spider walkers called? You fight one of them all the time.
They're just
Public
called walkers.
yeah, public mission strikes. Like it's just, I don't know. I didn't really care for him honestly in this game, and that was one of my favorite parts about the old game.
All right. So one thing I would like to talk about I have on my list is you just brought up the public events while talking about strikes as well, and that's one thing that I had on my list is public events feel more rewarding than strikes do. Has anyone else experienced this or
I feel like it almost depends on the public event. I mean,
I think the reason it feels more rewarding is because it's like kind of the same thing. It's just like so in a strike when you start, it's pretty easy and then it progressively gets harder. Like every wave of enemies you fight gets stronger and there's more of them the
Yeah.
farther into the strike and then the boss comes with wave like the larger waves. Whereas the public event starts in that final part already and you don't have this stuff leading up to it. So it just doesn't last as long, but it's in my opinion, I think the public event is literally like the end of a
a
strike.
strike?
So you're doing the exact same things just in the public world, and people can come and go. It's not just a select mission. You can leave it if you want to. You can show up at the end, like, all you got to do is show up, shoot once, and you get to claim the reward. So,
One
um,
thing
I think that's why it might feel a little more rewarding. Is it's literally basically just a strike, and you're only doing the very final part in it, so it's you can do more of them in a shorter period of time.
Right, and there's always at least one on every planet.
Hmm.
But one thing I do is I from the Eververse where you can turn in your bright engrams every time you level up past level 20. When you go to her, she has something you can buy for bright dust. I'm not 100% sure how you get that, but I had a lot, so I bought a bunch of. I don't know the exact name that they're called, but they're like things where if you complete like a crucible match or a strike or a public event, you have a higher chance of getting a legendary / exotic engram, and you can stack those twice, so you can have two going at the same time. And that's usually what I'll do is I'll just go hop around planets for 4 hours until like I fill my engrams.
Gotcha. All right, as far as like the majority stuff, the main stuff, I think we've touched on pretty well. There's still a lot to be played. The game's only been out for 2 weeks. But
Once
do you
we've
guys
all
have any
done the
final
raid,
thoughts, like,
once we've all done the raid, we'll have
overall
more.
thought on the game so far. For me, I would say, I know there's a lot of things we kind of like almost bashed on, but I think it's just because we know that there's room to improve. I love the loot in the game. I think grinding for loot is like my favorite thing. Just being able to play, even though there's a lot of repetitive stuff. I know there's a lot of missions you can do. The loot is cool. I think it's very nice that it's customizable. I hope that they keep adding, because customizing your characters to me is just so fun. How about you guys? Is there anything that you like? Like, what's your overall thought as you've played so far?
I think the Destiny 2 gets carried by its DLC. That's why it's always so expensive. And we haven't had any taste of the DLC yet. So I think that in the coming podcast that we talk about Destiny, it's going to come down to the DLC for everybody, because that's where 90% of the game really happens, honestly.
Yeah, and that DLC is kind of a turnoff for me because I really don't want to pay that much for DLC on this game.
Kenny.
I mean,
No, I understand.
it's like I feel like some other games would already have that in their base game.
Right.
You know, I don't know. It just, the campaign really didn't take that long to do, and now most everybody that got the game when it came out is already beating that and is just grinding now. They're just kind of sitting and waiting until they have something else to play, and I don't know. I think the like the replayability of it is kind of low. I mean, like you can grind it, but like you were saying earlier, Jake, it can get kind of repetitive. And once you get DLC, then we got more stuff to play. But then you finish that, and then you're waiting for more DLC. But then you have to pay more money for that DLC.
Shout out to
And
Colt.
I don't know.
Got me that DLC edition, baby. Let's go, boy.
So
Let's freaking grind. We'll go Tyler, then Owen, and then I have like one last question that will take 30 seconds. So, initial thoughts that you played so far, yay or nay? Like, what are you feeling?
Overall, I really enjoy the game, especially because every other game that I have is kind of getting old. I've been waiting for COD, and it's kind of that good filler for now.
Yeah.
When COD comes out, I mean, obviously I'll be playing COD
Bye.
for a long time, but I mean, there's going to be times where I just get frustrated with that and want something else to go to, and I think Destiny is going to be one of those games that it will be like my go-to when I'm bored or just want to just kind of chill and play. But yeah, overall, I really like it. I've played most of what I've played solo. I know I've done a couple missions with you guys, but most of everything else I've done is solo. So I think I would have more fun if we played it. If I was able to play in more of a group. I know my schedule,
Yeah.
like
That's
the most conflicting with you guys, so that's not your fault at all. It's like mine, but I don't know. I think it'd be more enjoyable in a bigger group, but I've still enjoyed it alone. So I actually really like it. I don't have many complaints.
Yeah. Owen, you've played the most. Five
Honest.
initial thoughts right now. I mean, obviously they'll change, but you like it, not like it, kind of in the middle.
Disappointed.
You're disappointed?
I was very disappointed with how the base game turned out. The campaign, like I said, the campaign was great, but the lack of things to do, that wasn't an issue in the Destiny 1 base game.
Right.
Because when the base game, like I say this a lot, but the base game of Destiny 1 will forever be the best base game there ever was. Like, not just because, just like all this other stuff, but there was so much content in the very beginning of the base game for Destiny 1. For D2, I think there's only 3 or 4 different strikes right now. And the base game of Destiny 1, there was 7, 8, maybe even 9 different strikes. So you weren't constantly just over and over fighting the same person.
Right.
So,
You think they could have probably like done a little bit more, is what you're saying, as far as the initial release?
Yeah, I read something on the internet. I don't know if it's 100% true because obviously you can't trust everything you see on the internet. But I heard that when they began developing Destiny 1, they also had a separate team developing Destiny 2.
I feel like, that's, yeah, like I can get what you're saying, and it may or may not be true. It's just one of those things. It's like hard because you want to be able to adjust to what the players want, but
Right, and then one thing, Colt made this to me. I told him about this before, and he said that Bungie basically said that this was a game that met all the fans' requests. They made this game to fill a lot of the things that they didn't fill that Destiny players from Destiny 1 always wanted but never got.
right. Yeah, I think overall the nice thing about Destiny is it didn't come out when all the other games came out. It gave us something to play, couple months until like that wave hits at the end of October, early November. The last thing I'm gonna ask, and this is a yes or no question. If you screw it up, I'm gonna slap you in the face next time I see you. Was the raid good? Yes or no? Owyn, you're the only one who's played it.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We will probably all have played the raid maybe by the next podcast.
Can I say one thing?
No.
No, it's not a spoiler. I swear to God.
I swear your life if you screw it up.
Study the shit out of everything you have to do. Like, go on YouTube videos and watch them. Because when I first went and did it with the group of 6 of my friends, I had no clue what I was doing, and if one person doesn't know what they're doing, it ruins it for everybody.
All right, you heard that. I probably won't listen to it. I'll probably be that dumbass that says, "Freak it, I'm just gonna go in and get killed." But on that note, guys, thank you for coming in, Owyn.
Thank
you
you
did
for
okay.
having me.
You did all right.
Yay, I'm not a complete idiot.
Until next time, guys. See ya.
Later.